Masterclass olarak gerçekleştiriyoruz. Culinary Journey reçeteleri etkinlik serimizin detayları için bizi takipte kalın. Sözü önce Zeynep Hanım'a, sonrasında Le Cordon Bleu Türkiye Direktörü Defne Ertan Tüysüzoğlu'na vermek isterim.
We will be doing a very special masterclass event today. Le Cordon Bleu News cookbook, a culinary journey that blends the wonderful classics of French gastronomy and international cuisine, has been created by the contribution of Le Cordon Bleu alumni from all over the world. Every month, we will do a series of online masterclasses with international Le Cordon Bleu alumni featuring their recipe in a culinary journey book. Stay tuned for the details of our A Culinary Journey recipe event series. I would like to give the floor to Director of Le Cordon Bleu Turkey, Defne Ertan Tüysüzoğlu.
Değerli öğrencilerimiz, değerli misafirlerimiz, hoş geldiniz. Gene güzel bir etkinlikte beraberiz. Ve her etkinlikte de aslında farklı şeyler yaşıyoruz. Bu sefer de Yeni Zelanda'da Le Cordon Bleu'den bağlanıyor aslında şefimiz. Bu da bizim için özel bir etkinlik oldu. Hatta dedik ki acaba önümüzdeki seneki serileri de farklı Cordon Bleu'lerden farklı şeflerle beraber mi yapsak ve Cordon Bleu ailesi olmanın keyfini çıkarsak. Bugün de belirttiğim gibi Yeni Zelanda'dan bir şefimiz, bir mezunumuz bize bir reçete, bir sunum yapacak. Sayın Vaibhav Vishen'i ağırlıyoruz bugün. Onun için de çok heyecanlıyız. Dear guests, it is a very special day today for us because this time we are hosting an alumni, but we are also a guest in Le Cordon Bleu, New Zealand. Our chef will be doing his workshop, his gastro show from Le Cordon Bleu, New Zealand. That's why we are very excited. It's a very new event for us. Yes, and today we have also a special guest, Chef Vaibhav Vishen, to do his recipe from our latest book, The Culinary Journey. I think he needs a few more minutes. We will be waiting for him for a few more minutes, but we're happy to watch the show. Biraz zannediyorum birkaç dakikaya daha ihtiyacı var şefimizin. Heyecanla bekliyoruz.
Le Cordon Bleu mezunu Vaibhav Vishen'in Antep fıstığı ve rezene, kabuklu ördek reçetesini elinizde hazırlayarak...
Maybe we can wait about 2 more minutes.
Okay, şef. Tekrar baştan size bir hatırlatma yapmak isteriz. Instagram sayfamızdan görmüşsünüzdür. Tekrar buradan da iletiyoruz. Le Cordon Bleu mezunu Şef Vaibhav Vishen'in Antep fıstığı ve rezene kabuklu ördek reçetesini evinizde hazırlayarak bizden A Culinary Journey kitabını kazanmak ister misiniz? Yapmanız gerekenler etkinlikte Şef Vaibhav Vishen'le birlikte yaptığınız ya da şefi takip edip etkinlik sonrasında yaptığınız benzer reçeteyi fotoğraflayarak Instagram'da @lecordonbleu İstanbul ve @Vaibhav Vishen hesaplarını etiketlemek ve Instagram sayfanızda gönderi ya da hikaye olarak paylaşmak. Fotoğrafı lecordonbleu@özyeğin.edu.tr mail adresine ulaştırmayı unutmayınız. Story veya gönderinizi görebilmemiz için Instagram hesabınız herkese açık olmalıdır. 29 Ekim Cuma günü saat 12'ye kadar mail ve Instagram'da etiketleme yapanlar yarışmamıza katılmaya hak kazanacaktır.
Would you like to win the book A Culinary Journey from us by preparing the Le Cordon Bleu graduated chef Vaibhav Vishen pistachio and fennel crusted duck recipe at your home? What you need to do is photograph the similar recipe you made from the event, share it in your Instagram feed or story with tags of Le Cordon Bleu İstanbul and @Vaibhav Vishen and send the photo to lecordonbleu@özyeğin.edu.tr. For us to see your post or story, your Instagram profile needs to be public. Those who send us the email of their story or post until 29th of October, Friday at 12 p.m. will be eligible to participate in the contest.
Bugünün konuk şefi Le Cordon Bleu mezunu Şef Vaibhav Vishen bizlere A Culinary Journey kitabında bulunan Antep fıstığı ve rezene kabuklu ördek tarifini sunacak ve etkinlik Le Cordon Bleu Yeni Zelanda mutfağında gerçekleşecek. Yeni Zelanda Le Cordon Bleu'ya etkinlik için mutfaklarını açtıklarından dolayı çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Etkinliğimiz İngilizce olarak gerçekleşecektir. Zoom ekranınızda yer alan çeviri butonundan İngilizceyi seçerseniz İngilizce, Türkçeyi seçerseniz Türkçe çeviriyi dinleyebilirsiniz. Sorularınızı chat kısmından bize iletebilirsiniz.
Today's guest chef is Le Cordon Bleu graduate chef Vaibhav Vishen will present the pistachio and fennel crafted duck recipe from the A Culinary Journey book. The event will take place in Le Cordon Bleu, New Zealand. We would like to thank New Zealand Le Cordon Bleu for opening their kitchen for the event. Our event will be in English. If you choose English from the interpretation button on your Zoom screen, you can listen in English. If you choose Turkish, you can listen to the Turkish translation. And you can send your questions through the chat. Chef Vaibhav, thank you for accepting our event invitation. We are so glad to have you.
You are welcome.
In this event, and thanks for Le Cordon Bleu New Zealand for the hospitality. I would like to give floor to Chef Vaibhav Vishen and have a nice event.
Thank you very much. And hello, everyone. And thank you for joining me in this live masterclass with Le Cordon Bleu Istanbul. Today, I am very excited, particularly that I am with the first time my experience with my viewers from Turkey mostly, and also world over. And it is a great honor to be collaborating with Le Cordon Bleu Istanbul for this culinary journey and the live experience that we are having this live going today on Instagram. Hello and welcome everyone. I will quickly take you through what we'll be preparing today from my cookbook, from the recipe that's in the Le Cordon Bleu cookbook. It is a duck parfait, which is served with a duck breast, which has been crusted with pistachio and fennel, and will be served with a jus, which is made in a traditional format, but has been, I'll sort of tweak it with a little bit of Asian flavors, which include guava, chilies, and some coriander. So the entire flavor profile is kind of borderline umami, but it is an interesting flavor, which I thought it was one of the most selling dishes at the restaurant where I work. It is not on the menu anymore. However, this was one of the most selling dishes on the menu. So, all right, I'll quickly take you through the recipe and the process flow of what we'd be doing today. We'll be starting off with making the parfait because it would have to set. However, I have already pre-made the parfait because it needs at least 12 hours of setting time. So it is sitting in the fridge, but I will be showing you how I will be preparing it as well. In addition, we will be making the guava jus. I will not be preparing the jus today because it obviously of the long hours of cooking it takes for preparing the jus. I have pre-made the jus, but I will also take you through the entire recipe of how we make the jus and the process of reduction and at what point we add these additions of guava and chilies and the coriander. Okay, so we will start with preparing the parfait first. So for the parfait, we will put the pan on a low flame. And then get about 200 grams of the duck liver into a bowl. There are multiple ways people soak them in, soak the livers in before they start cooking them. I personally prefer water over milk because I just personally feel that the parfait gets firmer when we cook that in milk. So I'll just give it a quick rinse in water. This ice cold water, make sure that it's not hot. And we can just let it sit. After that, we start cutting one of the onions. We can use red or brown. I prefer brown onions. I would personally, I'd never discard all of the scraps because these are pretty good with using in stocks and jus, or gravies that you make. They just add a bit more flavor profile to the sauce that you're making. So yeah, so all the food scraps, just keep them separately into a bowl. We start cutting up the onions. You don't have to be very particular about the size of the onions because we are going to puree them anyway. So it just has to be just slightly, just roughly chopped. And same with the garlic as well. So I've taken 1 pod of garlic here, slice it up. And a small amount of the Granny Smith apples. And we do the same with this as well. So we just roughly slice them. Start with a little bit of oil. And I'll put the onions in, the garlic and the apples in, and we start to sweat them. We just have to gently cook them just until the vegetables and the fruits have softened. You could also peel the onions. The recipe calls for peeled onions. I prefer sometimes using, depending on the kind of the quality of the livers, I sometimes keep, and I don't keep the skin of the onions, the apples. It just helps me make the pate firmer because there is a natural setting agent in the skin of the apple and it's called pectin. So I just occasionally, when I know that the quality of the duck livers is kind of, if it's quite soft, I tend to keep the skins on, which in this case was. If the duck livers are very fresh and they're quite firm, in that case, I tend to remove the skin because it just tends to make the pate a little firmer and more firmer. And I personally like the pate to be sort of more creamy than firm. All right, in the time being, I will prepare the liquidizer as well. You could use any blender as well or the spice grinder if you have at home. Just make sure that it is dry and wet. So we start off with a little bit of pepper in there and just a little bit of salt. So once this is done, I can see the vegetables and the fruits have softened a bit. I am going to transfer that into the liquidizer. On the same pan, I am going to put a little bit of oil and start off with the duck livers as well. I haven't seasoned them, so I just pop them onto the pan. That's a little bit of theater here, but so the idea is to just cook them off about 40%, and the residual heat that will be in the parfait in the duck liver will cook off the remaining bit later on once we put it into the blender. So you don't have to cook it all the way through. A good parfait is always pink in the middle. However, in New Zealand, if it is a chicken liver, we are supposed to cook all the chicken products all the way through, which is 75 degrees and above. but just for this, that includes poultry, that includes duck as well. However, for this recipe, I will be keeping it pink, so I will not be cooking it all the way through. It's just the health and safety in New Zealand. They are very strict. The color has to be kind of, I'm not too sure if you can see the color on the camera here. So it is nicely seared on all the sides, but I'm just waiting for it to cook a little more, just until the exterior is just 10% more firmer. Right, while that's cooking, I'll put the oven on. And I'm going to put the oven on at 180 degrees. All right. And I finish this off with, reduce the heat, take it off the heat, and I just splash a little bit of cream on there. And you let why we put the cream in is to stop the cooking. And it also prevents the parfait from discoloring. So as soon as I put this into the pan, it has obviously reduced the temperature of the pan, and it also thickens and deglazes the pan. So there's a lot more flavor, and you make sure that your parfait is going to be pink. We put the duck livers in. And we put that onto the liquidizer here. Okay. If you are using a domestic blender, please make sure that you wait for the parfait mixture to cool down completely before you start blending it, or it can be very dangerous otherwise. This is a commercial version of the liquidizer, of the blender. It is okay to whip up or blend hot foods or hot liquids in this. Yeah, but at home, domestic blenders are not built for blending hot mixtures. So please make sure that you cool down the mixture before you start blending. Just a few more whiz. Perfect. So we are going to empty the mixture. So we are going to empty the mixture onto the drum sieve that we have here. And we are going to pass it through the sieve. So the mixture is supposed to be quite thick. At any point, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, please. Okay, at this point, we start just mashing the mixture over the sieve. So this is all the fiber from all the fruits and vegetables. So this can be discarded, because we'll be using just the pulp. Okay. At this stage, I will transfer the parfait into this container here. It is quite harder to make smaller batches of parfait. Restaurants generally make a lot bigger batches. We make about 5 kilos at a time. So smaller batches are a lot harder to sort of puree as well. So with can everyone hear me? There's no sound.
Yes, you hear you very well.
Yes, Chef, we can hear you.
Oh, fantastic, thank you. Yeah, the Zoom apparently said that there's no sound, so we got a little concerned. Yeah.
The voice is excellent.
Thank you. Okay, so with the parfait, we put a lid on immediately, or you could also use a cling film to cover it up and press it down into the container and leave it in the fridge. Otherwise, you will end up having a thick layer of dry skin on top of the parfait, which does not taste good at all. So just a tip. And that goes into the fridge for at least 12 hours. Okay? If you worked on poultry on your chopping boards, remove them straight away, okay? I'll flip them around because I'm still working on the poultry. I've still got the duck breast to process. Okay. Now, the next step would be the duck breast. Okay. Okay, so we start trimming the duck breast. The New Zealand duck breasts are quite small compared to what you get internationally. So their cooking time is a lot lower, and also they have a lot of fat and moisture content. So we treat them slightly differently here in New Zealand to how people treat duck breasts internationally, which I will show you while we are in the process of cooking the duck breast. The preparation of the duck breast, however, is exactly the same. I take the tenders out, and don't discard these either. These make really good duck rillettes. So yeah, there's a whole lot of things that you can do with trimmings, meat trimmings. I've seen a lot of people making jerkies out of duck tenderloins as well, which are quite delicious too. So yeah, we start off with scoring the duck breast. Please make sure the knife is very, very sharp. Don't pierce through the skin, otherwise you are going to overcook. The likelihood of you overcooking the duck breast will be quite high. So just a gentle run of knife over the duck breast, so that you're just scoring the skin and not going through the skin, through the muscle. Okay, so I'll just quickly show you in the camera of what the scoring looks like. So it hasn't gone through the skin. So it's just on the surface. So you must have noticed that I had kept the duck breast out on the shelf for a while. And the idea why I did that was it's a good idea to keep your meats on at room temperature before you start cooking them, because they cook evenly and they cook fast as well. If the meats are in the fridge and you start cooking your meats straight out of the fridge, the likelihood of you overcooking the meats and the exterior of the meat getting really, really tough is very high. The chances are very high. So I personally prefer having the meats out of the fridge for at least an hour before you start cooking them. Okay? So we just start preparing the duck breast. We will not start cooking it. So we're just placing it on the pan. So the duck breast, with duck breast, you start cooking duck breast on a cold pan. You don't cook duck breast on a hot pan. So we will place them on a cold pan. And we just keep going to keep it on the side, put a few sprigs of thyme on. And we use a little bit of garlic just to enhance the flavor of the duck breast. You don't have to chop it. Just take a knife and just smash it and into the pan, okay? So we stop here, and then we will now start preparing the jus. So when you're using coriander, make sure to use the stalks as well for the jus. Stalks have more flavor than the leaves, which I learned at the culinary school. In India, we generally discard the stalks, and my mom always would, until I figured that, stalks have a lot more flavor than the leaves. So yeah, so try using the stalks next time. Okay, so we put the coriander in, and I'll also put the chili in too. And I've got some guavas here, which I'll be using. I have already poached them. So they were skinned and then poached. Just no sugar, just water, and you just wait until they soften. So they sort of just turn this kind of light pink, and they've got no skin. And you dump them in. And then we've got this little demi-glaze all ready to go. So how I generally make the demi-glaze is you get any leftover bones, chicken, beef, lamb, whatever. I prefer lamb and beef because there is a lot more gelatin in the bones, and that tends to make your jus a lot more glossier, and it has a bit more body compared to the chicken demi-glaze. So you roast the bones, roast the mirepoix, all the vegetables, to put them into the oven until they are sort of dark brownish. And then you boil them with red wine. You don't put any salt in at that stage. You put some tomato paste in, and you boil it for at least 12 hours. After the process has elapsed, you pass it through a sieve and start reducing the entire mixture of the liquid. Also, through the process, you keep adding more water into the pot, just making sure that the bones are properly submerged in water. Otherwise, if the mixture reduces, you are going to burn the entire stock mix. Yeah, so this is essentially the reduced mixture of the stock, the demi-glaze that we had made. It is a very long process, so I thought it would be better for me to sort of just pre-do it, and it would speed up our process of this short online class. Okay, so with this mixture, we pop this onto the liquidizer again. And we put it on high speed. Okay, perfect. So the mixture will start to look a little green at this stage, but don't worry about it. It is going to change color as soon as we warm it up again. This mixture does not have to be boiled, so it has to be simmering or warm. If you boil it, you potentially tend to lose the flavor of coriander. So you never cook coriander. Just let me know if I'm going too fast.
No, excellent, excellent, chef, excellent.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So all of our duck processes are done, although we're not using any more poultry here. So I am going to get rid of the So this stage, we start processing. We pass it through the sieve, and we just sort of press it down so that we are getting all the juices out. And all we have left is the pulp and the seeds from guava. They're quite hard to bite on, and the stones for guava can eventually break your teeth as well if they're quite. Sometimes if it's not ripe enough, it can chip your tooth. So be careful. That's done. Okay, so we just leave it on the side on. Okay. All right, next. We will now start making we'll start cooking the duck. And while the duck is cooking, I will prepare the crumb as well. And once that's out, we will be ready to plate. Okay. So not very high heat, medium to high. So we cook the duck breast on skin side about 4 minutes. And then we remove some of the fat, and then we cook it for another 2 minutes. We flip it, cook it for 2 minutes, and it will be cooking in the oven for about 3 minutes. So here the point of difference is generally internationally, when you're cooking duck breasts, they're a lot bigger, and the fat content is comparatively a lot less to what New Zealand ducks have. You would, for a larger breast, you would want to cook the same way, but for 6 minutes initially without disturbing it. Flip it and then pop it in the oven for 6 minutes, and that's medium rare duck breast. So that's the only difference that we sort of work around with New Zealand duck breast, because that's slightly smaller. Yeah. Okay. So let's start making the pistachio crumb. So there are three things that we need for the pistachio crumb. We need fennel. So you've got the recipe there. I'm just going to eyeball it because I've made it so much that I sort of just remember it off my head. I have these pistachios that I'm using here have been blanched and have been through the dehydrator. And I've removed the skin as well. So these have been dried out. But when you start making the pistachio fennel crumb, make sure that you're removing the skin and then roasting as well. These are roasted, so I'm not going to roast them again, or they're going to burn or overbake. And then we put a little bit of the salt in here. Okay, a little more. While the duck is cooking, we will season the duck on the skin side. I'm not using a lot of salt. This is sea salt, so don't think it is not going to be salty at all. So, and some pepper. So I will just move the camera and just sort of show you quickly of what the pan looks like. Also, when you're making the duck breast, make sure that you're using a cast iron pan, ideally, because it retains a lot of heat and it will prevent your duck breast from also burning. Duck breast, the skin naturally has a lot of sugar in it. If you use a thinner pan, the exterior of the duck is going to caramelize first and immediately burn right after. To use a thick bottomed pan, ideally a cast iron pan. Okay, now we also will start processing the mushrooms. So I'm making 2 portions today. So I'll just be using about 6 odd mushrooms. So I take the stem off, don't discard it again, use that in a stock. Or you could make a really good mushroom sauce as well out of it. So we leave them to the side. And these will go into the oven with the duck breast. And once it's out, the mushrooms will be cooked as well, and also the duck. And after the duck breast is out, we are going to give it a bit of rest for about 6 to 8 minutes before we start plating it up. Okay, with the pistachio and fennel duck crumb, the pistachio and fennel crumb, we are going to blitz it into a spice grinder. Just to make sure that it does not have to be a fine powder. It has to be slightly kind of a bit coarser, just so it has a little bit of bite to it. And also the fennel seeds, what generally I've noticed with fennel seeds is when you blitz them a bit too much, they get bitter. These are toasted. So I would also, it adds a little bit of a crunch element as well into the dish. So I prefer to sort of have both pistachio and also the fennel to be just a slightly, just a tad bit coarser than usual. Okay. So the crumb is ready to go. Well, there are no tongs in the kitchen. Sorry. Okay. Just looking at the, at this stage, I am going to remove some of that duck fat. Just a little bit, not all of it. All right. I'm going to halve the mushrooms because I will be serving the mushrooms in a smaller plate. And that way they will also cook a little bit faster. You can leave them whole as well if you like, if your button mushrooms are slightly smaller than this. If I pop them whole in the oven, they will probably take a little longer than usual to cook. Okay. So that is done. And that is done too. Okay, so I'll cook this off another 1 minute on the skin side, on the other side. And at this stage, I am going to start basting the duck breast as well. That's that. And it goes into the oven for about 3.5 minutes, approximately. Okay, so while that is happening, I will start organizing the plates, and we will also start heating up the sauce, just warming it up slightly. Now I'll also put the mushrooms into the pan and a little bit of the salt for that. Needs a little bit more salt. That should go. Okay. Leave it on the heat for a while. There's a bit more pepper, I think. All right, once that's done, we'll start preparing the garnishes in the meantime. So here we will be using some wild fennel for the garnish. I'll actually just keep it for another minute in there. And we've also foraged some of the wild onion flowers from the Wellington region. And we just pick a few of these. Okay, the sauce is ready to go, and we are now going to transfer that into a pouring jug. Okay, so that's all ready to go. Just leave that here. We'll get the duck breasts out. We are going to now rest them for about 5 to 6 minutes. We'll leave the mushrooms on there and let them absorb the duck fat a little. That will just give them a little more flavor as well. Okay, so that is ready to go. I'm going to transfer the mushrooms onto a wet towel. This will absorb any excess fat going through the plate. questions so far on the? Yeah. We won't cut the duck breast just yet, because I can see that it's still quite hot. So we'll just give it another 2 minutes. Okay, so we go back to the duck parfait that we made. And this one was the one that I pre-made. And I will be, using that one, because the one that we made this evening would not have set. Going to be.
Chef, at the moment, we cannot hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, something, but not yet.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Mm.
Am I audible?
The sound is very low. We cannot hear you. Is it with microphone, maybe?
No, it's not.
Yes, it's better. It was better. Would you please move again? Because when you moved, it was better. No.
Just going to change the earplug and see. Can you hear? Is it better now?
Very much so. We can hear you perfectly.
Awesome.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Great. Okay, so I can see the parfait that we made this evening is still quite runny, so I'm obviously not going to use that. So yeah, it does. It takes it about 12 to 14 hours to properly set. For assembling the parfait, we will be needing some hot water. That is essential because without hot water, you can't scoop it because we will be spooning it out into a plate. We just need some hot water. Yeah. All right. The quenelling spoon here. Oh, did I? Ah, thank you. Okay, we will now start plating up. So we will be, we just slightly warm up the spoon and make a small quenelle of the duck parfait and put it onto the plate. John, can you please bring the this phone a bit closer to the plate? Okay. So, as you can see, the parfait is quite pink on the inside, and it is sort of firm, but not too firm. So it has just the right amount of consistency. Sorry, I did not introduce you to my friend. That's John. He's been helping me out with this setup today. That we'll be putting about 3 of the mushrooms on the plate. Are you able to see the plate, everyone? Sorry.
Yes, very well. Thank
you see bullets.
Perfect. Okay, next. The duck breast is all ready to go, so we can slide it up. It has well rested. The skin is quite crunchy on the outside. And we are going to just diagonally cut it up. just like this. And use that on the plate like that. You get the little bit of the crumb, and we will be putting that onto the duck. Now, we use that on the exposed side, but don't cover it entirely, please. So just a little bit. Yeah. And we use the garnish.
Camera off of the mobile, please.
A little off the camera. Is it okay now?
Back, yes, yes. Good, very good.
Okay. Use that. And use. And we finished it off with the sauce. And voila, there you have it. Duck breast, pistachio and fennel crumb duck breast with green apple parfait, mushrooms, and guava jus.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you, Chef. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Chef. It was a great show, and we are very happy.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I hope you will be recreating the dish at some point. Can you hear me?
Yes, Chef.
Yeah.
And we are also waiting for the picture that you are taking so that we can share in the Instagram as well.
Yes. I will send that through straight away.
Thank you, Chef.
You are welcome.
It was a pleasure watching you. It seems so delicious.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to make the recipe with you all. Thank you.
Sevgili katılımcılarımız, katılımınız için teşekkür ederiz. Etkinliği tekrar izlemek isterseniz YouTube kanalımızdan ulaşabilirsiniz. Kasım ayında gerçekleşecek olan A Culinary Journey Masterclass etkinliğimizde görüşmek üzere. Thank you for your participation. If you would like to watch this event again, please visit our YouTube channel. We are looking forward to see you in our November A Culinary Journey Masterclass event.